Hey everybody, welcome back to the Gamers Lounge podcast. My name is John Meadows. With me as always is Eric and Dennis. What's going on, fellas?
Hello, hello.
Incorrect.
What'd I say?
Wrong names, John. You said Eric and Dennis.
Oh, Nathaniel and Dennis. Did I
that's
really
right.
say Eric?
All right,
Wow.
I'm out.
You know what you did?
Done.
Jeez.
Podcast over.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I cannot believe I said that. See, it's usually I was in the mode of what I usually say all the time, and I blew it. Oh well, 200 and whatever. What is this? 205 times of saying the same thing over and over again.
I figured you'd have it by now.
Well, you'd thought.
You would think, but also at the same time, it's like it's one of those like. I mean, God knows it would happen to me once you get in like a rhythm of like, you have the same people for so long, and then you have that one day where someone's missing, and you're just so used to hitting those beats every time that all of a sudden you have to adjust yourself really quickly, and it's like, it can easily throw you off.
Yeah, it does. It throws me off just every once in a while. It doesn't happen often, but every once in a while, I'll excuse it this time. Yeah, but that's easy for me to excuse because I'm the one that gets to.
Because you're excusing yourself.
That's right.
We'll go ahead and patch it out.
Yeah, it's no big deal. I mean, I can shut it down and we can start again.
It's I mean, what are we? CD Projekt Red? Come on.
Oh, that's low blow.
I mean, any video game company, man.
Yeah, at this point,
patches are everywhere.
Lord, yeah.
That was an easy target, though. That was an easy target just with everything going
on.
Yeah. With all due respect to CD Projekt Red, I do love them. They're great.
I mean, they just put out a giant patch, man.
Yeah, and I heard, what is it? It had some kind of issues on PlayStation 5 or something like that.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't remember what it was. It was like...
I think it's one of those things of, hey, we fixed or changed 500 things, and then like, oops, here's some other stuff that got affected by it, or just it hadn't been fixed yet, so people are just like, oh, you patched it, but this isn't fixed. You're like, who knows?
And that's the way it always goes, though.
It's going to take several more patches. If they're going to get it into like great quality, it's going to be like No Man's Sky, where it takes them at least a year and a half or so to get to
but what a comeback story!
No
Man's Sky.
Yeah, if they can do that with Cyberpunk, awesome.
And
please,
they just what was it? They just announced another big update for No Man's Sky that was coming. Yeah, with all kinds of stuff in it. So it's like, jeez, you talk about value. I bought that game for $60.
Apparently, they're still making enough money on it that they can do that.
I
awesome.
guess. It's crazy, and I guess that and some of that sweet Game Pass money, since it's on Game Pass too. So maybe...
there's always stuff like Terraria that kept getting updates for like a decade.
That's true. Yeah.
And like Stardew Valley now is up to like about 5 years or so. Minecraft's been around for a long time. So if you hit that and just like right amount of popularity and things, you can keep updating it for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought that No Man's Sky would be where it's at today. But
I'm so happy that it is though, because I remember when it came out, like it was the game that, because I love space stuff and I love sci-fi stuff, so like it was the game that I, especially at the time, that I always wanted, that I always envisioned as a kid, of just like, I want a game where you could just explore, like, even if there's no point to it, I just want to be able to explore a vast galaxy, and do so in like a beautiful, peaceful way, because you have a lot of games that take place in space, but a lot of them, there's always an objective. You always have some sort of enemies. I don't want to die. I mean, granted, you can die in No Man's Sky, but like there's that sense of relaxation that comes with it, though, for the most part. Depending on how you play, you can play, like a crazy pirate if you want, but otherwise, someone like me, I just want to go and I want to see planets, and everything's procedurally generated, so you're always seeing something new, and it's always beautiful. So even at the time with vanilla, like, I still defended that game, even though I admit, I wasn't refuting what people said, like, with all the problems that it did have, I acknowledge all of those as well, but I saw what that game could be, and I'm so happy that now, years and years later, that people, really appreciate the game for what it is, and, it really is one of those, success / comeback stories that, and I'm just super happy for Hello Games.
And it's one of those games that I would love to know some of the backstory of. Did it release the way it released because Sony was pushing them?
Yes.
I mean, was
the
it?
core answer is yes.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like,
It and Cyberpunk are very, very much in the same boat of it got a huge amount of hype and then it came out and had a bunch of problems, and then hopefully Cyberpunk can, they can fix it down the road. We'll be like, man, remember, see that cool Cyberpunk Redemption thing where they just totally fixed it, working on it for however many years.
And I'm sure they will. I mean,
probably, yeah.
I mean, Witcher 3 wasn't where it's at today when it came out. First came out. It didn't.
Witcher 3 was amazing when it first came out. It had some bugs. It was not Cyberpunk.
No, it wasn't. And that's what I was going to say. It wasn't Cyberpunk, but it wasn't perfect.
But they did keep updating Witcher 3, but a lot of it was some quality of life stuff, and then definitely some bugs, but didn't have nearly the amount of stuff that Cyberpunk does.
Right. Oh no.
But yeah, like I think with Cyberpunk and No Man's Sky, if they had come out and said this is early access.
Right.
It feels very much like the arc of an early access game, where it's like it comes out, you've got the bones of it, there's some issues, it might not have as much of the content that it will in 2 years, and then 2 years down the line, wow, look at all this stuff that they've added and changed and fixed, and the game is completely different now than when it started. Right. But even when it started, it has kind of like the bones of like, oh yeah, I can see what this is, and some of this is fun, some of it's not. But I don't think Cyberpunk could get away with it just because it's like a huge AAA game that's pushing graphics and all this other stuff that if they'd come out saying it's early access Cyberpunk, it's like, nah, you can't do that.
No.
Even though that's kind of what it feels like, right?
I think the only game that I've seen that had a physical copy that was early access was probably PUBG. I know PUBG, but they had like that early they call it the preview edition or something like that, I think, with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Yeah, there was something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was.
I don't remember.
But you're right, there was something like that.
And again, I think actually, I don't even know if that was actually a disc. It might have just been a piece of paper.
I was going to say, it could have just been a piece of paper in a box. I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, like I know they did eventually end up having a disc, but I can't remember if that preview version was a disc.
But I mean, right, we've got Baldur's Gate 3 right now. That's kind of early access, big game. But even that still feels very different than what Cyberpunk is.
Right.
So I don't think they could have, even if they had wanted to, which they wouldn't have wanted to, they couldn't have said, hey, we'll do Cyberpunk early access and put it out and update it over a year or 2 years or whatever. People would be like, no, give us the full game.
Yeah, it's... And eventually...
I had a lot of fun with it. I played the crap out of that game, over 100 hours worth, and I will play it again just like Witcher 3, but I will wait for, at least a year and see where it is then.
Right. Yeah, and I ponied up my money, and I'm waiting to play it. I only played like maybe 15 hours of it, and went, I'll wait until next gen patch comes out, and then maybe by then it'll be running a little better, and yada yada yada. So
yeah, I bought it on launch. I got it through GOG and put a couple hours, roughly the same time, I want to say, but. It's also one of those things where I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna. There's too many frustrations. Whereas I love everything about it, and it is like it speaks to me just because it's everything that I love about, just sci-fi and just cyberpunk stuff in general. And I acknowledge that it's so fantastic, but there's too many frustrations there that are sort of ruining the core experience for me. So, and like I know that I just.
Oh man.
I know there's a great game there, and I want to experience that great game, so let me just hold off on this.
It's very much a game that, like, having completed it and played all the endings and all that, played for a long, long time, it's got some very high highs that are just like, wow, this is exactly what they promised, and then it's got some very low lows, like a very vast difference between it. But they could still have pretty much a lot of the bugs and stuff that are in there, but if they had just done some of the quality of life stuff that they're just now starting with this patch to start exploring, that would make it a lot less frustrating to play. Like craft multiple items at once is something apparently they just added. Like that would have been nice. Like, especially, like for most things, whatever, you're crafting a gun, you're crafting, some clothing or something like that. You're just doing one item, doesn't matter. But hey, you want to craft some ammo? It's just like, hey, craft me, 50 boxes of ammo or whatever. Just click it once rather than like click.
Right.
I think everybody saw Animal Crossing get away with it, and they're like, "Oh, okay, all right, well."
Or there's just like all this different stuff with like the map and some of the other just UI stuff that could be a lot better. That if they fix and change that stuff, then that will go a long way. And those are relatively, in quotes, simple fixes versus all like a lot of the big crazy bugs or just like crashes,
also,
performance, all that stuff that's harder to do. But
yeah, like I haven't seen the patch notes for the new one. I know it's a big one, but like, have they done anything yet with like toggling headgear? Is that a thing yet or no?
I don't know if they added that or not. I don't remember.
Because that's always like a big thing for me. Was headgear.
Yeah, I just never used a helmet, and it doesn't matter.
Right.
It literally didn't matter. Now, if they rebalance some stuff later, who knows? But you use all the other gear, you get some better looking stuff, and then upgrade it or not. You can even just keep buying better stuff that still looks good. It's a really weird curve with the looks of the gear in the game, because when you start, it's just like a mismatch of a bunch of just stupid junk that looks like crap. So I'd be willing to bet that a lot of RPGs do this. The quality of gear goes up as you level up. So more stuff is available in vendors. You'll get some cooler drops, or you might find some of the unique things in the world. But yeah, like even just like the stuff I bought from stores was much better once I had made it, well into the game versus what you get at the start. So like by the time we get midway to late in the game, it's like, yeah, I look really awesome because I found some cool stuff in the shops.
Right.
Whereas when you start, it's like, oh, what is this? What are you wearing, man?
Or if it was like every time I looked at myself in the mirror, I was just naked with no, it was like, I don't
they
know.
Did
I
apparently
never knew what I looked like. So.
I don't know about those, but like they have the bug where you're driving and it does like the naked T-pose like flashes where you're like doing that. They supposedly fixed that one. I don't know. I haven't actually looked. Or anything, but I kind of like skimmed through some of like the patch notes. I was like, okay, there's a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah.
One of the most ridiculous things I experienced was I posted a video of it back when the game came out. Was I was running towards like a mission, and all of a sudden like a car ran into me. The car exploded. I somehow survived, but then it created like a chain explosion of like traffic, and it was. And the audio, like the way it was clipping and so distorted, I mean, it completely blew over. It was insane, and I was like, you know what, this is where we pause.
And yet, it's really cool that you can go into like one of the taller buildings in downtown or whichever area I forget it was. It's one of the tallest ones in the game. You can get to kind of like a rooftop kind of lounge bar area or whatever, and you can literally jump off the building and go all the way down to street level, which you wouldn't think would necessarily be in the game, but it's like, no, hey, they actually built like to where you could actually do that. Whereas like some other games would just be like, you get off the roof for 10 feet and it's like, oh, you died, and like, that's no fun. Let me splat the street, man.
Yeah, really.
Let me take a cool screenshot where I'm posing from like 5 feet off the ground right before I hit.
But then I saw like there was no, unless I saw like a wrong video, but like there was no like fall animation. Is there actually a fall animation? I saw someone like jump off a building and they were just like as if they were just standing, or just like fell directly.
I don't remember. Yeah, I'd have to go back and
wave their arms and go, or anything like that.
That didn't matter in photo mode. I just put one of the poses on. It looked cool.
Yeah. Shoot. But yeah, so
now it's not like which one was it? It was Saints Row the Third, where not nearly as tall buildings, but I was able to get like a little scooter in like a building and start ramping it off of roofs and stuff down to the street level, and all the dumb stuff you could do in that game.
Yeah, there's a lot of dumb stuff you could do in that game. That was always fun. I liked. I don't think I ever actually played the story of that game. I think I just ran around and did dumb stuff. It was totally worth playing the story because you got some really fun unlocks later in the game of just all the weird, like just the vehicles you could get, or like unlock the different skins, including being a toilet. Like that game was ridiculous. It's my favorite of the Saints Row games. Like the one after that, like went a little too far into like now they're superheroes or something. It's like, nah, you're losing a bit of the identity. I get why, because they're like, well, how do we ratchet it up again? Yeah. Oh Lord. All right. Well, let's talk about things we've been playing. Not things we have played I'd say years ago, a long time ago. But I played nothing. I have played absolutely nothing the past 2 weeks.
Well, what platform did you play this nothing on?
There's nothing on. I played it on the magical nothing platform. It was amazing.
Now, is this the sequel to everything?
Yes,
because I have that.
Yeah,
okay.
It is the sequel to everything. So
okay,
it's
the other half of that James Bond game from like the PS2, I think.
Yeah,
Everything or Nothing.
What was that? There's like a hidden game that's like it basically is James Bond, but but it was like a female version of James Bond basically, and it was on like PS2, I believe, or maybe it was PC only. I can't remember, but it was like.
Oh, you mean
the name of it.
I know what you're talking about. Hang on. It
had an orange cover.
Yep.
The girl looked like she was out of like Space Channel 9 or something.
No One Lives Forever.
No One Lives Forever. Yep, that was it. Yeah, it was like the 1960s. Then it came out when the Austin Powers movies come out, and everybody assumed it was like a campy game, and it actually was like a serious James Bond, but a girl game, and nobody paid any attention to.
Yeah, I heard the game was actually like legit though.
Yeah, it was. It was actually good. I remember buying it. I bought it on PC. I think it was.
It's like abandonware now, apparently, so you can get it for like free somewhere.
Yeah, it may be on. And they may have released it on PS2 as well, but I know it was on PC. That was where I remember seeing it because it had the cool psychedelic 1960s yellows and oranges, and
that's right.
Yeah,
I'm seeing it here. Yeah, it says released for Microsoft Windows in 2000, and then later down the line was released for PS2 and Mac OS.
Yeah, I remember that game. Yeah, that was a cool game that nobody paid any attention to when it came out, and it makes me sad because it was actually pretty good for the time. I don't know if it holds up, but I mean, it was pretty good. So
I would love to do a retro throwback of that game, honestly. And just play it just to see how it is. But apparently there was a sequel also in 2000.
Yeah, there was two of them. Yeah, there was one and two. So
I thought it was just the first one. I didn't know it had a sequel. That's crazy.
No, yeah, there was actually two of them. I just remember seeing the big boxes in EB Games or Software Etc. or GameStop. Right. I remember seeing them because they were the big boxes. So, but anyway, no, I hadn't played anything because I didn't take my Xbox on the road with me, and I didn't take we were hotel hopping for the past 2 weeks. So it was like, if I'm only staying in a hotel one night, I'm not bringing my Xbox with me because it's like, what's the point of unpacking it, hooking it up, playing it for 4 hours, put it back, take it on, then unhook it, and put it back. So it's like, forget it.
So, just seems tedious.
Yeah, it was real tedious. So really, even though I've been off the past 4 days, it was kind of like, let's get the game room straightened up and ready for the PlayStation 5 because I need to make room. So like last night, I literally pulled out the entertainment center behind me and ripped everything out and redid everything. So now I've just got the Switch and the Xbox hooked up, and that's all I've got hooked up in here. I don't have 8 other systems.
And then you'll get the PS5 in there, and it'll be as tall as your television.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm excited to see is how far up the TV. Because I mean, I could get a measuring tape and see, but I want to be
based on like your Xbox. There, it'd probably be not quite halfway up to your TV if it was sitting in the same spot.
Yeah, and it's that little empty spot. That little empty spot there on the end is where I'm going to try to stick it. As long as I've got enough width on it, I think I do. So. Looks like
it should be because it's not quite as wide as what the Xbox is there. So even with kind of like the circle stand that you have it sitting on.
So it's like I didn't realize until I pulled it out. It's like I got that surround sound system. I had 2 HDMI switches with 5 HDMIs in it, and I had HDMI, the VGA to HDMI adapters. I had splitters. I had capture cards. I had. It's like, all right, this madness has to stop. So it's just like I just yanked it all out, and it's like the only thing there is the Xbox, the Switch, the Retro Tank to be able to hook up retro games systems that I want to it, and there's 1 HDMI port left for the PlayStation 5, so it's like,
dedicated.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, it's like that's all I'm going to do, and then if I want something, I will pull it back out. I mean, it's like, why do I have the Wii U still sitting here hooked up, pulling power, when I haven't played it in forever? So,
well, the nice thing about that is like you can always do like cable management also. That's always because sometimes after a while like it tends to get crazy because you always manage it like the first time you set it up, but then as you add more things,
exactly,
it's a little crazy,
Well, and I don't like leaving old things hooked up all the time either.
Right.
I know there's some guys out there that still have their Super NES and their Genesis is hooked up with those old power bricks, and it's just like them things get hot. They pull power all the time. It's like. No, them things are 30 years old. What's that? I smell burring. Do I smell ozone? It's like, nah, forget it. I mean, because like
it's the smell of burning nostalgia.
Yeah, really. It's like, I put 2 power strips on the back of that, so there was, I think, 10 or 12 outlets on the back of that entertainment center. They were all full. In fact, I had another power strip with 5 more in it just for the oddball things. It's like, so in 2 outlets, I had like 17 things just crunched in there. It's like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. It's like,
I was going to ask, like, how many surge protectors do you have, or did you have back there?
4.
4. Okay.
I had two from that you use like in a workshop, so they're the big metal ones. I have them hanging on, and then I have a regular one on the PVM over here, and then I had a regular one on the other end just for oddball stuff. And it's just like, yeah, there's only 2 outlets on that side of the room.
It would have come down here at one time, and all of the like cables would become sentient, and this like tentacle monster would like attack you.
Well, what's funny is when I pulled it out and started moving all the cables, I'm like, wow, this is where all the crickets came to die down here. Because it was just like there was just cricket carcasses everywhere back
Probably
there.
from all the like electrical fields from all those cables being plugged in.
Well, that and I'm sure the system was putting out a little bit of heat at the time.
Yeah, they crawl in there like, oh, it's toasty.
It's nice and warm. Oh, I'm dead. So, and unfortunately, it was like 2:00 in the morning, so I couldn't run the vacuum cleaner. So it's just like, okay, let me push this back. There's only 4 cables back there. I could easily pull this out now and vacuum behind it and push it back. It's just so ridiculous. It's like, and we're in the process of cleaning up the other side to do another game room over there. So that's where all that stuff will go. But I don't know if I'm going to hook the PlayStation 4 and the Series, the One X back up again. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I mean, I may hook the One X up for a 4K DVD player, but I don't think I'll. It's like, maybe I should just sell it. I like to hold on to it because I might want it someday. So I'll just set it on the shelf and go, oh, look, I have a pretty PlayStation 4 Pro that I had for 6 months.
And you could probably store more games on it than you can the PS5.
Oh, yes,
at least
you
at this point.
And let me tell you something about moving stuff over to the PS5, because I have tried to get everything ready, so literally all I have to do is plug and play. I didn't realize that Sony had updated the cloud backup to like over 100 gigs. That's a good thing, because my game saves are like 6 or 7 gigs just in game saves. So it was like, I uploaded all those. All right. So I went on Facebook and bought Dragon Souls, or Demon Souls, because I didn't want to pay $70 for it. So I found it for $40. I was like, okay, that's a good price. I'm good for that. And then I was like, you know what? Now that they've got it set up so you can transfer your save from Spider-Man PS4 to Spider-Man PS5, maybe I'll just get the remastered version and see what that's like. Well, I already bought Miles Morales for like $20 over Black Friday or something, So it's like, I went on the store and like, I'll just buy the remastered version on the store. Yeah, you can't do that. The only way to buy it is you have to buy the Ultimate Edition for $70 at the store, which comes with a download code. It's like, this is bullcrap. What in the world? So I went on eBay and I just bought a code off somebody that was selling them for like $20. It's like, this is ridiculous. Sure. It's like, why do I have to go through hoops and ladders to buy a digital game, a remastered digital game? Why am I buying it anyway? Why can't I just?
Because they wanted it as a cool Ultimate Edition pack-in, and then like give it, another. You're not quite far enough where they're like, oh look, we released it on the store, guys.
Yeah, it's like. So I did that, and then it's like, okay, well, I uploaded my save to Cloud Save, but then I found out last night that you actually can't download the PlayStation 4 save to the PlayStation 5 Spider-Man. from the cloud. You have to boot up the game on the PlayStation 4, upload it through the game to their cloud server, and then when you boot it up on PlayStation 5, download it through the remastered game.
Well, that's probably why it's not a straight thing. It's you're going from one version of the game to the other. Because I have some, my PS4 saves for like God of War and
all that stuff.
Ghost of Tsushima. That's just like because it's basically the same game running.
Right.
It didn't have any issues. It's the ones like that are like, it's technically a different thing of the game, and so we're trying to figure it out. Like, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. It was like, oh my gosh. So it's like, well, let me set this over here because I'll have to pull that PlayStation 4 back out and hook it back up again just to upload the save. It's like, why do you got to make it so hard? I don't understand. Xbox was so easy. I literally turned on the Xbox and it said, oh, look, you have a save on the cloud. Let me just sync this. Even though you're playing the Series X version, no big deal. Let's go. It's like, I don't know. But
there was a great, somebody posted a thread, I think either one of like somebody who does like networking at Microsoft or maybe is just a dev at just a different studio.
Yeah.
But they explained why it was so easy because what was it? There was a game recently that just made it so complicated. Marvel Avengers. That's what it was. When the whole thing with Marvel Avengers came out, they explained why that was so convoluted on the PlayStation 5. Meanwhile, on Series X, it's just like, did you hit play? Okay, congrats, pick up where you left off. And the reason being is because the Microsoft Store, since they've kind of unified everything, if the game is effectively the same, it has the same ID code in its database. That's it. It is, and then basically, if there are any extras or updates, that's through like a different sort of like DLC package. Even if it's considered one entire game, it's like hidden DLC that you can't buy separately, even if it's like a remake or remaster or whatever the case may be. So that's like kind of like side loaded, basically. And that's why the save data just kind of goes so seamlessly between each one versus Sony, where it's just like, if something has like is labeled in the database as like, SKU 11251, and then the remake comes out of said game, it'll end and it could have a SKU of like, 12678, and then it's
just one off.
Right. And it might be the same by name, but in terms of its infrastructure, it can't sync it that way, so you have to go through this crazy obstacles and loopholes. And
it could be worse if Nintendo had a system that was on par with Xbox and PlayStation, like technology-wise. They would probably have some weird-ass save issues that too.
I'm sure they would. I mean,
because their networking and internet, just any online type stuff has never been, this up to the same as the other guys.
Well, just look how you
lagged behind a bit.
Yeah, well, look how you have to transfer saves from different Switch consoles. It's either you have to pay for the online and upload it and then download it, or if the game doesn't support the cloud saving, then you have to have the two systems right next to each other and literally transfer them over your internet, which is just weird. It's just archaic, and we just don't do that anymore. I mean, people could say what they want about Microsoft with backwards compatibility and I know the menu system and the dashboard and everything looked exactly like it does on the Xbox One, but there's something to the simplicity of knowing what you're getting into by turning it on, even though it's a new system. And
I fully expect it to be like PS4, where it starts out a little slow, but then the games start rolling in, and then everyone's like, wow, it's amazing. Because right now it's like, the box is great, the services are great, but like, man, where are the games is about the only complaint some people have. And they'll come. They're working on stuff, guys.
They always do. And the other thing is we're still in the middle of a pandemic. We were in it for a year and over a year. It's like, what do you expect?
But we've just had the whole cycle flip flop again. So we had where it's just like, hey, the 360 is the cool one, and then it's like the PS4 is the cool one, and now maybe the Series X will be the cool one. Who knows? We haven't gotten to figure that out yet.
Right? Yeah, I haven't got deep enough into it.
I think the marketing's been better for PS5, and that's why you've seen more units be sold of that. But it's funny because I see a lot of articles now that are just like, I bought a PS5 at launch, and I bought a Series X later. And now that I have a Series X, I haven't touched my PS5.
I've seen a lot of that. Yeah.
I've seen it from Kotaku, Polygon, Verge. I mean, you name it. So,
Well, and the other thing is too is like, what was that article I read the other day, that the reason why some of the Series X games are lagging behind in performance is the devs just didn't get the updated dev kits, till late, well after, I think Sony got theirs out in February and Microsoft got theirs out in June. Well, they both launched in November, so you only in June, July, August, September, October, November, you had 5 months to, get those games updated. So, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, we're very early in these consoles' life cycles, and launch, the first year, whatever. Any of the games that come out, none of them are like the most amazing games you'll ever see on there. They're gonna run not the best, or they just won't have all the bells and whistles that future games will. So,
right, yeah.
I think that's honestly, like, when you think, I feel like the true launch is this year. This holiday season is
this fall is when,
it's the early access launch.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, because when you think about it, it's like, everything PS5 has so far in terms of exclusives, like 99% of them so far are also available on PS4. And then everything that Microsoft would have had on launch, specifically Halo Infinite, is basically got pushed back into holiday of this year instead, in 2021, when it was supposed to be 2020.
Right.
And I think, now that I think about it, at the time everybody was like, oh, they're just cannibalizing themselves. But with Game Pass being so good, and then on top of that, everything's too hectic right now. You have 2 massive console launches right next to each other in the middle of the pandemic. So, you want to wait for the dust to settle first. Then once everyone isn't so blind anymore and can kind of focus and see things, straight, then, people this holiday season will be like, all right, Halo Infinite, I'm ready for this now, once the kind of dust settles.
Well, and plus the other thing you got to remember too is people are getting free money from the government right now with stimulus packages, so it's like, not everybody,
Stimulate my entertainment center.
Exactly. And I understand, not to get too political on the podcast, but I mean, I understand there are people out there that seriously need that money, that is hurting, and, I totally get that. There's people like us who got it, who necessarily didn't need it. I'm not going to turn it down. If you're going to send me money, then sure, I'm going to pay bills. I'm going to catch things up. But I'm also going to buy a PlayStation 5 now because, hey, I got $500 free. Why wait a year when I have, and then go, well, you know what, I'm really going to have to save up for it when I've got it right now. It's like, okay, fine.
Plus, hopefully the couple games coming out like before the end of the year will be good. Like the Ratchet and Clank game, I really hope is good.
Well, and
the PS4 one has been patched now apparently. The Digital Foundry video came out. I was like, ooh, I'll have to install that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking forward to actually with the PlayStation 5 is I want to finish Ghost of Tsushima, but I want to play it in 4K 60. I with no bugs, with no slowdown. God of War, I still haven't played yet. I want to play that in 4K 60. It just looks better. It runs better. I like the PlayStation 4, but man, it was just the other day or yesterday when I turned it on to move saves over to the hard drive, make sure everything was installed on there, all that stuff. It was like, this menu system is slow and it is sluggish and it doesn't want to respond and it's driving me crazy. I don't think I can go back after the peppiness of the Series X, and I know the PlayStation 5's peppy too. It's very hard to go back and play those games like that. It's like, so I've still got tons of Horizon Zero Dawn. I haven't played it yet other than just a few minutes to try it out on the PlayStation 4 Pro. I never even hooked the VR up to the PlayStation 4 Pro to see how much better those games run. So now it's like, well, now I'm just going to skip it and wait till the 5 comes out. I finally got I literally have everything in the mail that I need. I got my travel case, I got my toasty stickers, I got my my adapter for the camera so I can use the PS VR. I just waiting on my stinking system to get here. I got my Demon Souls game. I got my Spider-Man purchased. They're just waiting to be downloaded and stuff. The only thing that worries me is hard drive space on the system. It's like, most games I'm going to have to run off the hard drive that I can run off the hard drive. Which means I won't get their external, which means I won't get.
Well, especially, I don't know if you've seen this, but on the PS5, like, it's not the only thing that contributes to it, but doing backwards compatible games, installing like PS4 games on there will add to your other space.
Oh, okay.
Amongst some other things. So you'll have like a category of like games, media, etc. And then there's a category called other.
Yeah.
I think on mine right now it's like 60 gigs or something. And it's like you can't see what really is in it, but from looking it up a lot of times, some of it is like backwards compatibility with the PS4 game. When you uninstall it, then a lot of that goes back away. So it's all mysterious and weird.
I don't know. It's weird. I installed, when I got my Pro and I moved everything from my original PlayStation over to the Pro, there was a magical 20 gigs of other that I had no idea what it is. I couldn't see what it was, nothing. When I installed it on the PlayStation 4, when I moved everything over to the hard drive, plugged the PlayStation 4 Pro in, it was fine and not there. And then a couple of weeks later, now it's back up to 20 gigs of just stuff on the PlayStation 4 that I have no idea what it is. I don't know. And
I think that it's probably, at least somewhat of it, is some of it is kind of like temporary files on the PC or things like that. Not necessarily all that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's just like, why is this here? It's not that I stored anything on the PlayStation 4 internal anyway, even though I had a terabyte and a half on there. I put everything on the 4 terabyte. So, but yeah, so I'm just, at this point, I'm just setting and waiting. And setting.
Yeah, like on PS5, if you're playing like something actively, go ahead and put it on there. But if you're just wanting to like randomly boot something up, there's no reason to. But man, them load times do improve.
Yeah, and that's what I like about the Series X. And now I've gotten to a point where it's like, okay, I need to pick and choose. Even with the terabyte on the system and the terabyte memory card that I have, the system's at 80% and the storage card's at 60%. So it's like, now I'm even picking and choosing what Series X games. It's like, okay, I need to.
I just never have that problem because I'm always someone who's like, okay, the few games that I'm like actively kind of playing, I'll put on there, and then like I don't leave them on there when I'm gonna be not playing it anymore.
Yeah,
I go through my stuff every once in a while, or like if something's been sitting there for months and I still haven't played it, then that's when I delete it. And I'm just like, if I really want to play it, then I'll go ahead and re-download it. But I do that every once in a while, like on all my systems. I do it on my PC as well, on my Switch, whatever. Like if something's just been sitting there for long enough and I haven't played it in a while or haven't played it yet, even though I keep telling myself, oh, I'll get around to that, I'm like, you know what? When I actually want to get to it, I still own it. It's not like if I delete it, I don't own it, So let me just get rid of it for now. And because sometimes if my list gets too big, I feel overwhelmed, and then I'm just like, and then you have that constant sense of even though you have so much to play, you don't know what to play because it's like, where do I begin?
That's why my Steam library takes heavy advantage of the tagging feature. So I have all like the different genres that I do, but then I have a currently playing list. So it's just the few games, whatever I'm actually playing can go in there. Or if it's something I want to play it soon, I'll throw it in there so I see it because it's at the top of my list.
That's what I've ended up doing with groups on Xbox. It's like, and I do that on folders on PlayStation 4 too. It's like, this is what I'm currently playing, and there's usually 4 games in there, and that's it. But usually what I do is I throw stuff on the external. Anything on the external is not in a hurry to play. It's just already installed, and then all I got to do is just move it from the external to the internal. But a lot of times when you're downloading a Series X game, it wants to default it to the internal. Then you have to push it to the external, and then you have to re-download. It's weird, but that's what I find. What I find bad is it's with Gamespass games. It's like, okay, I want to play this, and this. Let me go ahead and download them. They're ready to go. I don't know how long they're going to be there, so I need to play. Unless it's a Microsoft game, then I know it's going to be there forever. But what I do know is I need to hurry up and finish Call of Duty so I can get that thing off of there. That'll free up about 100 gigs. And we gotta hurry up and finish Gears of War 2 and play the expansion on the DLC on it, so I can uninstall it because that's about 100 gigs too. So
it's like that those two will free up a lot of space for you.
It's like, I was sitting there last night. I'm like, oh man, we really need to finish Gears of War. And I know we're not too far. I know we're not too far, but
the game's not long. We're a decent chunk in.
Yeah, it's just finding time now to sit down and do it. This is my busy time of year, but after Memorial Day, it's all open. So even though I'm going to take a vacation, probably since we're all vaccinated and the CDC says it's okay to travel, we're traveling. So But
hopefully I'll be able to get that nice vaccine hookup soonish, because North Carolina opens up in a few days for everybody.
That's what I heard. Try Walgreens.
Now, finding an appointment is the harder part, but you can actually be eligible for it now.
I tell you, it was super easy for me. The Walgreens, everything was done here through the state, was supposed to be, but for some reason the Walgreens here in town got shots too. And all you had to do was just call them and say,
"Gentlemen, if you can hear me,
yes,
you guys were frozen for me."
You were frozen for us, so
I can't see
you. You're frozen as the. Oh, there you are.
There you
go. I like the pose he was in. He was in.
Yeah,
this.
You're like, what? Thinking, scratch the headphones.
So I thought he was just really scratching his head. I'll change the servers on Discord and see if maybe that might change it.
It's on US East right now, so that should theoretically be good for everybody.
Well, it should be, but let's go West and see if that
automatically change it though. I don't remember.
Yeah, I just changed it to West, so we'll see how see how that goes. Sometimes when you got one on the West Coast and one in the South and one in the East, sometimes it's better to go Central because then it kind of everybody meets in the middle. So, but yeah, try Walgreens anyway. I don't know how this North Carolina's handled, but I called them, or Nikki called them and said we got 3 left. I drove down that day, got it. I get it the 17th. I mean, it was easy. My sister-in-law and her brother, or her husband, literally, they called Saturday and went and got them that afternoon. So it was pretty easy. So.
Yeah, I haven't paid too close attention yet because I just I'm not eligible anyways, so what's the point?
Well, when
I am, I'll look into it then.
We got so many less people here in this state that I became eligible a lot quicker than I thought I was going to. So, it just worked out. So, hooray. I'm not complaining. So, everybody go get your shot. Don't be dumb. All right, Nathaniel, you've been playing Yakuza Like a Dragon, and I'm excited to hear what you think of it because I haven't started that yet.
I bought it today because PlayStation's PSN has a big sale, and it was off like $20 off or something.
Oh, wow, that's a good price.
For about $40. Yeah. And it's like it just came out on PS5 recently, didn't it? I'm trying to think. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I was just like, hey, cool, I'll get that. I got another couple games. Well, no, I got this and one other game, but I hadn't played that one yet. Yeah, I played maybe about 4 or 5 hours of it today. I'm in the middle of a chapter 3, I think.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of almost getting to where it's really going because it's a Yakuza game, so it takes 5 years before you're actually in the full game.
But it's also good though.
Yeah, it really is.
It is really good. I've gotten to where now I've had one other person in my party a couple of times, and so it's gonna start opening up to where it's more fully doing things with that. But man, the main character is so much fun, but he's the world's biggest idiot. He doesn't understand the passage of time.
Yeah.
Because you have the whole kind of intro of the game, and then you go to prison, and then you get out 18 years later, and he's surprised at all the things that are different, and why is this person not here, and all that. It's do you not understand? You were literally in there. You felt the passage of time, surely.
Nah.
And then he doesn't understand what a smartphone is.
Yeah, just
maybe you don't know how to use it, but you should probably have heard of them at some point because it's set in 2019 when you finally get out. So somewhere in that decade plus, you probably heard of what a smartphone is. You would hope.
Yeah. That's.
And it's just he's a big idiot, and he's prone to melodramatic outbursts for no reason.
Yeah.
He's also a big fan of Dragon Quest.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. He's also big into Dragon Quest, which also cracks me up. It makes me
I don't know. I just like how obsessed with his hair he is, and then just his coolest hair is the one that he hates. It's no, that looks awesome, man. But I just I was cracking up when you get out of jail and he's doing this big old dramatic he's bowing down because he assumes someone's there and doing this whole monologue of how sorry he is about making him wait for an extra 3 years because he couldn't behave, and then no one's here. It's did you not look for the 2 feet that you stepped out the door to see if anyone was there? Nope, just go into your whole monologue. It's fine.
It's hilarious.
He's a goofy one, but honestly, like he's such a great protagonist that it's like, I mean, obviously I
Oh
miss
yeah.
Kiryu, especially after having experienced those games with Kiryu for so long. But he's a great protagonist, though, and I think he kind of follows his sort of legacy in a good way. Yeah.
I'm coming from a different side of it where I haven't really played Yakuza games except for like August or something. I played Yakuza 0 for a little while and stopped because I hated the interface so much. Because it was trash, it was terrible, it was not good. It's like
dated,
it's dated, and it's just like the PC port didn't up-res any of the graphics for the menus or anything. It was just all like I had to go find a mod to find a better text like font for the game so that I could read it better. It was just like, all right, now I get it. I'm getting some of it, and it's fine. But there's like also there's the response, like it's a you want an action game to respond when you're hitting things, and there's just enough of like input delay on it that it's just like, all right, I get kind of what this is. I've explored the map a bit. I've seen kind of both of the main characters in that game for at least a little bit to kind of get a feel for them. And then I didn't make it any further than probably like, I don't know, maybe 10 hours into that game. I don't remember. I'd have to look. But this one, I'm definitely going to play a lot more of it because I like the turn-based combat a lot better than the action combat of the other game. If it was smoother, I'd probably enjoy the action combat too. But like even this one, because of some of the timing stuff they throw in there, it still moves pretty quick. Just sitting here in menus for forever, being like, well, which ability should I choose?
Yeah.
Let me go through here. I mean, you can kind of do that, but you don't need to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like how like super over the top flashy it is, kind of like previous Yakuza games too, but just in a different way.
Right.
I don't know. I think I just for some reason the turn-based combat vibe I like it better. I'm doing it with English voice cast because I wanted George Takei.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want to do too. Yeah, I mean, why not, right?
He's really good.
Yeah.
The turn-based ended up working really well. Like I'm really happy with it. It's just funny to me that it was something that was an April Fool's joke, and then it ended up being a real thing, for the new Yakuza. So, but they made it work though, and I think it kind of goes to show just how talented that studio is. Man, RGG is just they're just a great team of people.
Yeah, and what is it? In a couple weeks, Judgment remastered on PS4 and PS5, or on PS5 and Series X comes out.
Oh, is it finally coming out to Series X?
Yeah, it's like April 23rd. I'm hoping that it comes. I'm hoping it comes to Game Pass, but it's fine. If not, I'll buy it. It's only $40.
Because I'll buy it again. I don't care. That game was great. But here's the thing: I only put like 8 or 9 hours into that game, and that game is still. Yeah, and it's always in the back of my head of like, man, I really want to jump back into that because I loved what I played.
Yep.
It was incredible, but it was at that time where I was just kind of like starting to slowly step away from my PlayStation. I just wasn't using it.
Yep.
So it just didn't come out at necessarily a good time. But if it's coming out to Xbox/PC, and if it's on Game Pass on top of that, oh my god. Say no more.
I don't know if it's on Game Pass or not. They've had a lot of big Game Pass announcements in the past couple of weeks, so they may not.
Chill a little bit. I know a big one. We'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into all that in a little while, but yeah, I don't know. But I was looking because I pre-ordered Ratchet and Clank. That's the nice thing about staying in a bunch of hotels and having a reward system. I get gift cards all the friggin' time, and I love it because I don't have to pay for things. It's very nice. It's like because it's like I buy. Everybody's like, well, look at all these Star Wars figures you bought. Yeah, I'd never paid for them because I use my gift cards from where I stay in hotels all the time. So now it's like, I really don't want to pay $70 for a game. Oh, Ratchet and Clank's coming out. I do want to play that. All right, I'll use my gift card for it. Literally, I think I'm going to have to pay like $10 out of pocket for it. So, and probably before it comes out, I'll probably have another friggin' gift card that I'll, pay it off with. So,
is that another one of those, like, is that a $70 game?
Yeah.
PS5?
Any PlayStation 1 or PlayStation first party game is $70. And it's, and I come from a generation where it was not unusual for games to be $100. But
that makes sense. Like at the time, just think of the technology with the cartridge. I mean, you had actual motherboards that you were putting into your system,
and chips and memory chips and stuff like that. But now it's like I understand. I don't know.
Well, it's just flip flops. So then it was more about like the physically thing you're buying is more expensive, but now it's more like, hey, look at how expensive it is to make these games and all the hundreds more people we have to have working on them versus back in the day. So
I try to look at it like that.
It's still a lot.
Yeah, it's still a lot, and and I kind of got used to. Well, I remember, Dreamcast games for $40. Back then, games, PS2 and Dreamcast were $40, and then Halo Collector's Edition came out, and they were like, "Well, it's $60, but look at all this cool stuff you get." And we all went, "Okay," but we didn't realize that Microsoft was saying, "Hey, people will pay $60 for a video game now again. Let's charge $60 all the time." And we've paid usually about $60 for almost 20 years now, unless you count the collector's editions and stuff. So that extra $10 jump, it's just kind of like, especially when the other guys are not doing it, the third parties and Xbox, they will eventually. I know they will.
I mean, it's just like if you think of it that way, but then it's like some of the older games, there's still all the extra stuff that you buy in them anyway that they get money out of. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people more than the $60. So
spending $80 or $100 on it anyway, and you don't think about it. But yeah, I mean, there's the other thing that spoils you is Game Pass. Game Pass just spoils you. I mean, it just does. Now it's like in the back of my head, it's like, well, and we'll talk about it here in a few minutes. I was like, you know what? I would really like to try this game out on the Xbox, but man, I hate to pay $70 for it. Oh, it's coming to Game Pass day one? All right, no problem. It's like, okay, fine.
I think once we get further and further into the generation, you'll have like games will be older, they'll go on discount, or you'll get some retailers will start selling them at a discount, not too long after, just kind of like it did during PS4,
Walmart sells
Xbox One days.
Walmart sells them sells them $10 off day one right now, unless it's a PS5 game.
$49.99.
Yeah, it's like $49.98. I almost bought Monster Hunter the other day because it was $10 cheaper at Walmart, and then I thought, when am I ever going to play this?
Yeah, that's definitely a time investment kind of game.
Yeah, it was like, I don't have time to play it right now, so I'm not buying it right now. And Nikki was like, well, if you want to, go get it. No, that's not the issue. The issue is I don't have time to play it, and I'm trying.
If I wait until I have time to play it and I still want it, I can probably buy it for even cheaper.
That's right, absolutely. But anyway, so Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Yeah, it looks really good. I'm playing it in the normal mode or whatever they call it. That's the 60 FPS mode. I haven't toggled it over to like the 30 FPS better graphics mode yet to see what it looks like. I may or may not, because like whatever, it looks nice. It's
I watched the Digital Foundry's version of it, and there wasn't. Well, I'll always choose 60 over fidelity anyway because it's 60. But I couldn't tell that, and of course I'm watching it on an iPhone. In 4K.
Yeah, that's really hard to
compare
on
an iPhone and 4K. Even though this new iPhone does have a awesome screen on it.
Well, it's just physically the screen is smaller, so it's a little harder to tell, even though the pixels are there.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. If you have a 5G phone and you get your vaccinated shot, holy crap, you're a walking 5G cell tower. I can get 5G everywhere with this thing. Sorry, that was a joke. Never mind. No, it wasn't funny. No, okay. Go ahead.
Just when we thought that had finally maybe gone away, John brought it back.
Retract my my nano bots and my 5G service in my COVID shot. Go ahead.
You talked about it, so now you don't get it anymore, John. You jinxed yourself.
All right, fine. Fair enough. That's totally fair.
So yeah, I'm in the part of the game where I just met kind of like the homeless dude who can become a part of your party.
Yeah.
I forget his name now. And I collected some cans one day on a bicycle. It was fun. Because it totally makes sense in Yakuza world. You just have to drive over them when you collect them. It's great.
Yeah.
Nanba, I think his name is Nanba.
Yeah, something like that. I hadn't committed it to memory yet because I hadn't been around him for too long yet.
He's great. He's so funny.
Yeah, when I finally got into like a fight with him for the first time. I was like, "Ooh, you got some fun abilities to start out with. I can't wait to see what more unlocks later."
When you unlock all the stuff later on, it is the most absurd and funniest thing you will ever see. And it just makes you go, just like, who thought of this? Like, who was in the board meeting of just like, all right, what abilities are we gonna give this guy? It's like, what if you just do this, this, and this? And like, you'll see. I'm not gonna spoil them, but you'll see. And it's just.
I mean, he already starts out with like ability where you're just like belching just noxious fumes on people to like take their armor down or something. He has the like nap in place thing where he'll go like lay down and recover some health. Like, it's just goofy. It's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll definitely want to dig more into that game. I thought about buying it on PC when it came out, but I was like, nah, that's more one I'd want to play on my TV. And so I've been waiting until it came out on PS5, then forgot about it, and then saw it on the sale. I was like, oh yeah, sure. I'm kind of like wanting something new to play now. I'll get it.
I'm surprised it's on sale for that cheap, so soon.
Yeah, it was like $42 or something is what it kind of shook out to.
Well worth it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Then I have two other games I've played a little bit of. I've played the start of Gears 5 since I bought that back in like the Christmas Steam sale, I think. Or maybe even earlier than that. I don't remember. It's been sitting there in my currently playing list for a while. So I got me install it. I'll wait for the 100 gigs to download because I have the high definition texture pack on it. That game looks really good, except the few things about it that I don't think look good. Like, they have all the stuff at the very beginning where you're kind of like in a helicopter thing. I don't know. It's not really a helicopter, but like their dropship thing flying around. So you have a bunch of like landscape shots. And anything that's in the background that's just a flat card texture looks like crap compared to all the stuff that's actually objects. Because it just feels like, hey, distance just chops off. And you're like, man, like, plenty of games use that trick, and a lot of them make it look way better than it did there. I don't know if it just happened to be those couple scenes in the beginning, but I was just like, wow. What? You have all this stuff that looks really good, and then you have this card that's kind of like a grainy image that's maybe you're trying to put atmosphere on, but they just the layers didn't blend together, so it was just like it drew my eye right there. I was like, oh, what is that? Well, it's almost the drawback of like, hey, when everything else looks really, really great, and then that one little thing over there just isn't quite. It's still good. It's just not quite up to the same level. You're just like, what is that? So, but yeah, I've played through like the opening mission or something of that game. I'm not very far in because I started it and then didn't get back around to it. And then I bought Yakuza today, so I was going to play more Gears, and then I ended up playing Yakuza instead.
Yeah.
Yakuza. I'm going to take all your time.
Yeah. I enjoy the Gears games. I prefer to play them co-op. That's just me.
Yeah, I played Gears 3 full co-op, I think.
Yeah. I've played all of them. I've played all of them full co-op, so that's just.
And then I have not played 4 at all, so I watched all the in-game recap stuff. I was like, oh yeah, cool. I vaguely kind of sort of know what happened in that game now. Great.
Yeah.
Not that it matters too much for a Gears game. I'm not deep into the Gears lore. It's fine.
Right.
I'll just go shoot some things.
Well, that's like Eric. I don't think he played any Gears, had he? Dennis, didn't he say he had not played any Gears or something like that?
I don't think he did. If he did, he probably dabbled in like 1 or 2 for a little bit.
And then he jumped right into 5 with us, and it's like, don't worry about it. It's no big deal.
I played all 3 of the original games, finished all their campaigns. I played quite a bit of the Horde mode stuff in 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I played quite a bit of those. I just never got 4 for whatever reason. And then 5 was kind of like, oh, hey, it's on sale. Let me get it because that could be fun to play sometime when I want to play a shooter.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time since I played a Gears game. And then I started playing. I'm like, yep, this is a Gears game.
Yep.
Let me roadie run into that cover and then like start shooting stuff over it. Pop out my chainsaw, cut things in half. It's a Gears game.
Yep.
Get annoyed because you have to switch to the grenade instead of just having a dedicated grenade button.
Yeah, I know, right?
Gears game.
It's still, if we would ever live stream it, that's what you'll hear me say all the time. What button does grenades again? What can I switch? How do I switch grenades again? Tag on it. Why isn't there a button for grenades?
I mean, there is. It's just you're switching to it, and then you have to throw it. It's just not a one-button thing.
No,
at least in those games, it sort of makes sense because they're more involved, like the ones on a chain kind of things that you're lobbing. Right. It's not just like a frag grenade in any kind of regular shooter. Yeah.
I'm anxious to
the few games that do it there, where you have to switch to just a regular hand grenade and then like aim and throw it, it's just like no, right. That doesn't work.
Yeah, well, and I'm anxious for us to start playing it again because I've switched some of things like that to the back buttons on my Elite controller that I never use. So, if anything, it ought to be entertaining because I'll probably accidentally hit one of them while we're running and be like, "What are you doing?"
You smack yourself in the face with a grenade and then it explodes.
It just blew up.
Oh no! What are you doing?
Well, it's not like super difficult one that we left off on with that crazy.
Yeah, we are still stuck on that boss, and that boss was a pain in the butt.
I assume that they scale the difficulty for co-op. I think they've done that in previous games.
Yeah, I think
so. Like the more people that are in there, yeah.
And this boss is just. I just want to.
So like when you're playing 3 people, the third person is the little like robot thing, right?
That's
so
Dennis.
Does that mean that you can't? Can you not command them to do things? They just have to go and you tell them over voice and to do it. Like, because if you're playing single player, you're like, hey, go open that bridge or whatever. So I assume that the person playing that has to do all of that then and go up.
Yeah, that's Dennis's job because he played through the whole game campaign, so now he's just playing the robot that goes and does everything. So. Yeah.
And then he also knows, like, okay, I know I have to go open this bridge here, or else you're all gonna die from all the things exploding.
Yeah. So me and Eric are just running around like, and Dennis is over here going, "It's over here, people. Just come over here. It's fine. It's no big deal. Relax. Walk into this room backwards. You'll be better that way."
Scared? It's okay. It'll open, and then we'll just keep walking. It's okay.
I need to ask my buddy which Gears game that was. I think it was. I want to say it was Gears 2. It may have been Gears 1, and me and him were playing co-op, and he played it before I did, and then he went back and played it with me. He was like, "Walk into this room backwards." Why? Trust me, just walk into this room backwards. All right, that's a weird thing to say, but okay. And it worked, but I don't know why. I don't know what would have happened if I would have walked in forwards, regular, but whatever. It's been so long ago that I can't remember, so it's...
Probably some weird sort of exploit, probably.
Man, I don't
it's like it stops some tough enemy from spawning, would be my assumption. Like, for whatever reason, it's like if you walked in forward, it would spawn behind you or something. But if you walk backwards, you're watching the whole time, just like a horror movie.
Yeah, it's like, just walk in this room backwards. What? All right. But yeah, so Gears, we need to get back on that.
Yeah. And the other game I've played literally an hour before the podcast because a friend bought it for me. It's like I got a gift on Steam that says "Happy Easter." I'm like, okay, like that's random, but thank you. Yeah. So I got a Graveyard Keeper.
That game is cool.
It looks really cool. The hour I played of it is cool. It just kind of feels like, hey, what if Stardew Valley was taking care of a graveyard instead of a farm?
It pretty much is, and then it's I love it because it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough of this to bury this body. What am I going to do with it? I'll just go dump it in the lake or in the river. Nobody will know. Splash. And then
I did that.
Like, just wash it up on them. It's like
the first time you go to sleep and wake up, there's like a ghost there, and he's like, "Oh man, that dude who's buried in like the bottom right of the graveyard is such a jerk. Would you just like dig him up and throw him in the river for me?"
All right.
Like, maybe. I don't know what I'm doing. Sure. Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah, that game is great. I have it on Switch. It was on Game Pass for a long time, and I never played it on Game Pass. And then,
yeah, I remember like I was about to play it when it was on Game Pass, and then when I booted it up, it was like this game's no longer on Game Pass. I was like, damn.
Yeah, I ended up buying it on sale on Switch, and it's a perfect Switch game. Like Stardew Valley.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, it's a good time. I
really
like it.
I started playing with mouse and keyboard, then switched to controller, and controller is definitely a better way to play it, only because the mouse and keyboard controls aren't what I would call complete. I mean, they are, but it's more like keyboard with a little bit of mouse in a couple of the menus, and that's about it. You can't do some of it's not like Stardew where like you're clicking to interact. You can't like click to dig in the ground or click to interact with anything. It's all keyboard buttons. The only time you click is you can click through dialogue, and you can click on stuff in some of the like tech tree menus and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is a little clunky. Let me see what the controller's like. Oh, hey, I can do my sword on a button instead of the space bar, or, I could remap it. But I was just like, no, I don't want to do literally everything on the keyboard and then just click my mouse every once in a while. So I think that controller will probably be the way to go for that. And then like maybe if I'm doing a lot of menu stuff at once, then I'll like just, reach up and use the mouse because, hey, PC gaming.
Yeah.
Do that all the time. It's so good, especially for like RPGs that I like to play. Sometimes it's like, okay, I want to just like play it with the controller and relax, but if I'm doing a bunch of inventory stuff, I'll use the mouse real quick.
Right. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, totally.
It depends game to game too. Some games are good for that, some are not. So having the option is nice. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing. I'm definitely going to be playing more of Graveyard Keeper and Yakuza for sure, and probably Gears. It just depends on how distracted I am by the other games.
You'll be playing Yakuza and Gravekeeper. That's what you'll be playing. And that's fine. That is totally fine. Those are two excellent
and I've still been playing Loop Hero as my just like chill kind of game of just like, throw it on, throw in a bunch of music, and then just like not think about stuff for a while and just like play this.
Yeah. Cool.
But since I've already kind of talked about that game, I didn't really put it on the list, but yeah. Still awesome. Good.
All right, Dennis, you are up. What have you been playing?
All right, so let's talk about what I've been playing. It's honestly not as much as I thought. I've been like when I was like making this list.
This is the smallest list I've seen you make in months. You're slacking. That's all I gotta say.
It's been like review stuff. That's why I've been trying to prioritize review stuff. One that I can't talk about yet, but I did just finish that up for the site. So I was playing a little bit of that, but that's not on the list because I can't talk about it. But yeah, just a lot of review stuff, and then the stuff I can talk about, that's pretty much what I put on there. And then of course Monster Hunter Rise, which we were talking about earlier, but that, as Monster Hunter is with Monster Hunter, it's gonna take up your time, and it's hard to get into.
Let me ask you a question. I hadn't downloaded the demo of it yet, but of all the videos that I've seen, it looks way prettier than the other Monster Hunter game was on the Switch. Is it really, or am I just seeing?
No, it's definitely prettier because they use the RE engine.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah, they somehow managed to scale the RE engine to make it work with the Switch. So you're looking at these graphics that are basically like almost like a low settings version of what you would get for Resident Evil 7 or Village or or and stuff like that. So
it looked really
I'm
pretty.
Curious to see. Yeah, I'm curious to see what the PC version will look like when it comes out in several months down the road.
Yeah.
Because they said it's coming, but we don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to up-res things or not, or if it'll just be kind of like, hey, it's on PC, so it's running smoother.
Well, I noticed the thing with Monster Hunter World is Monster Hunter World actually uses a different engine from RE engine. So it doesn't use RE engine, it's something called MT Framework. And that one, it's a lot more photorealistic than this one is. This one's a lot more stylized, like the old Monster Hunters.
Yeah.
So I think on PC it'll still look gorgeous. Obviously, you'll have the 60
frame. Yeah, it'll look very different from World. I'm just wondering if they're going to up-res a bunch of textures and things too, which like with the art style, that would not be as important as if it were like World, but it would still be better than if they had the Switch textures on there, for instance. But I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think you'd still appreciate it just because, the hub world especially is beautiful. It's very Japanese.
Yeah.
So I think, but it's really, really pretty. Like if you compare Generations, is that what the last one was? Yeah, Generation.
I think so,
yeah, I think so.
Generations to this. It's like night and day. They really.
I hadn't paid a ton of attention to it. I love the Monster Hunter game, so it was like, I know I'm going to buy it eventually. I'm not too worried about paying attention to it. And then I actually saw some, video of it. I'm like, holy crap, this thing looks really good on the Switch. I was surprised how much better it looked.
Yeah, I haven't tried it in TV mode yet. Actually, I've just been playing strictly in handheld, so I can't say to how it looks on a big screen, but on the small screen, it looks great, runs great. It's not as fluid as I would like. It's not running at 60, which I would love to see, but for what it's worth, you don't actually I mean, the 30 works well for what it is. I mean, as someone who played it on 3DS for so long, I'm not.
And maybe if that 4K Switch that they're talking about maybe actually comes out, you may be able to play that sucker on 60. So we'll see.
I hope
so. I don't know. I think it would probably just be like, I don't know. 4K Switch does not make any sense to me, but they'd have to upgrade the processing in that thing way more to get the 4K than I would rather just have that more processing go towards 1080 than the 4K, because 4K will still probably be like 30.
The rumor of the Nvidia stuff that they're using is that they're rumored to be using sounds very interesting. So it would.
Well, they're trying to remember what the Nvidia Shield resolution is.
I don't know.
I can't remember
Shield. So.
But I mean, it's possible. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't seem like Nintendo would want to throw enough tech in there to make it run well enough as like I would want, and it still be a good price point. They're not going to want to bump that price up too much.
Well, and I guess that was what the thing was with this Nvidia chip. It's not really too expensive. So I don't know. It's all rumored at this stage. So who knows? But. I could see Nintendo milking this Switch like they did the 3DS and just bring out the new.
Oh, for sure,
yeah. Instead of,
I just don't know that 4K makes sense necessarily. Certainly not native 4K. Maybe they would output at 4K, but it's the actual pixels that it's rendering isn't going to be much higher than what the regular Switch would do, if I had to guess. But if it comes to fruition, we'll find out then, I guess.
We'll find out, and I'll probably buy it. So.
And then you could tell us directly.
I will probably buy it because it was.
I mean, depending on what it is, I might buy it, but who knows? It'd be more about like, okay, is there a reason for me to buy it because now the new Metroid and Bayonetta are coming out and have benefits or not? That would be my decision.
Yeah, those would be the ones, like, if you're going to entice anybody, like, you could have those games with it, and that would do it. Like, Metroid and Bayonetta. For me, especially, those two would be, like, even if there's just one of them, I absolutely, I'm in.
Those are literally the two upcoming games we know about for Switch that I want, that we know, have no idea when they're coming or if they're what state they're in at this point, because they haven't really said anything about them, but I want them.
Great logo.
Yep. Anyways, sorry, Dennis. I totally derailed you on that, but I couldn't help it. So
sorry. But yeah, just
apparently that's the mood I'm in tonight, is just derail everybody's conversation. So it's
been drinking too much, John. That's what
it is. I haven't drinking enough water. I think I've drank too much pop this week. So
dehydration.
It's dehydration setting in. So but anyway.
Monster Hunter Rise, the thing, I mean, it's Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is always going to be Monster Hunter. They haven't really the Monster Hunter World, I think, was the biggest change in the Monster Hunter series, like, to date. And Monster Hunter Rise kind of more or less builds off of Monster Hunter World, but still kind of feels like the more old school Monster Hunters still. So it feels more to me in line with 4 Ultimate than World, honestly. But it has a lot of those quality of life things from World, right? So you have one map. There's no loading between sections. Like, you just have one map.
Nice.
Yeah, that is nice. That is way nice. So that's what I worried about with that. It's because it's like I said, it's very. Playing stuff on the Series X and on a PC with a solid state has gotten very hard for me to go back to a console that doesn't have fast loading times.
Well, it's not even that. It's more like when you load into a map, it would still look, if you were looking at the map, the same, but each zone you would load in between zones.
Right, yeah.
So he's saying that they're getting rid of that, so now you're just like, you can wander around once you're in the map anywhere you want without having to like load to the new kind of zone.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of quality of life things from World that I've always wanted since I first started playing Monster Hunter that are, that's finally here. So you do have that seamless map. The sort of upgrade system when it comes to your armor and your weapons and stuff like that is a lot more seamless. The tree is just easy to read. And you can even just mark things as if there's one particular set you're looking for, you can mark it as like something you're working towards, and it'll be on your HUD and tell you kind of like, the sort of, how many items do you need left of that. There's the optional subquests and of course the main subquest that kind of they kind of work in tandem with each other. I always have some sort of optional subquest going because I always end up completing one or another. The main ones that just give you always, some extra perks. So they're always good to have, even if you're just, doing it passively, you'll complete it in one, in some form, whether it's just, collecting 10 of anything, just collect 10 things, or just slay 5, small monsters, or, so on and so forth. You'll just kind of do that naturally as you play anyways. So, you may as well just go ahead and, trigger those or initiate those, as you kind of work towards, the main storyline stuff. Local and online works great. I think it's, considering, Nintendo's netcode isn't the best. Granted, this is more on the Capcom side, but, it works well. I've been playing with my girlfriend, and everything works seamlessly. There's no lag or anything like that. The local Wi-Fi works great. It works much better than Animal Crossing does, God knows. So like it's 1-1. There's not some weird. Cause the thing with Animal Crossing is, I don't know if you've played Animal Crossing like online or local with someone that's close by you or sitting next to you, but there is at least like 4 or 5 seconds of delay before it shows up on your screen. But on Monster Hunter, it's instant. Like it is instant. So yeah, it almost happens in tandem. So
have they ever done anything in a Monster Hunter game where you control the monsters?
So you do in this one.
Because I honestly thought it'd be fun, like if you do like the arena fights that they have in there, but you could play like one person does the monster and is controlling them while the other people are trying to kill it. Would be a kind of a fun mode.
Yeah, so you're not gonna get. You're not gonna get something like Evolve, right? It's not gonna.
Yeah.
But it's but you can control the monsters somewhat. So there's this thing now where you can kind of, I forgot what they call them, but like the wire bugs. Basically, you have these things called wire bugs that can kind of propel you, and that's how now you can kind of jump in the game, right? So and climb thdo So if you do that enough on a monster or something like that, you can eventually kind of like wrap around them and then use it as like a what do you call this thing? Just how you would like be on a horse basically, and then you can just kind of control it, and then you can press the X to swipe, and like if you get on another monster while you're like targeting another monster, my god, the amount of damage you do. And then you can just have monster fights, just these massive monster fights. It's great while you're
monster rodeo. Yeah.
It's effectively what it is, and it's awesome. But the thing is, like, they are limited, so once you do initiate it, like take advantage of it, like because it's usually like a not necessarily a one and done. You can do it again, but it's definitely time consuming. So once you do finally get it down, whether it's by accident or on purpose, just start swinging away. And then even if there's nothing else to fight, you can actually put damage towards the monster you just got on if you just run into walls. Basically, just throw it.
Hey, dummy, why are you hitting yourself?
But it's super cool, man. It's awesome. It's more Monster Hunter, So I mean, if you played Monster Hunter before, you pretty much know what to expect. My biggest thing still with Monster Hunter is, my God, I don't know if this would change the game so dramatically, but there's still no proper like target locking. So I can't. I usually play a lot of the bigger, heavier weapons like a charge axe and stuff like that.
That's what I usually
so
do.
Like every time I take a swing, if the monster it doesn't even have to dodge, just walk a little bit this way, and by the time I've swung, I'm hitting. I did a lot of damage to the ground, let me tell you, but to the monster, not so much.
I don't see them ever like kind of skill based. They like all the weapons to be, so putting like a target lock thing in there doesn't seem like something they would do necessarily.
Honestly, like I don't think it would bother me as much as if I could just cancel out of the animations. I think that's the big thing for me. Like if I can just dodge or click the button, I'd probably be okay with the lack of target locking. But you have to wait for that animation to finish before you're dodging. So like if you see the monster is getting ready, he's about to initiate like a jump attack or something like that, and you're mid swing, I see that and I'm just like, let me hit B really quick to dodge, but nope, gotta finish that swing first, and then by the time I can dodge, it's hit me and I've taken half damage, and I gotta go switch to a potion really quick, and then and then I'm crying, and then I go.
That's why I don't do the big weapons. I like the fast attack stuff. That's my like the blade, the dual blades or whatever is the ones I usually use.
Yeah, when I first started Monster Hunter, that's what I used for the longest time, because I'm, as someone who has a big hack and slash background, that's my style. That's what fast. But for Monster Hunter, I don't know. I like it's so satisfying dishing out that massive damage that it's worth the extra, for me, the extra 1 or 2 seconds to just see that, just and watching the parts fly off, and it's great.
I mean, there's a time for just like big smack damage, and then there's a time for being kind of like weed whacker, just
and
going around with the super fast attack, and lower damage. Yeah.
And that's the great thing about Monster Hunter. You can just switch weapons at any time from mission to mission. You don't have to stick with just one. So.
Yeah.
But
like whatever you're in the mood for.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, I mean, I think every monster is going to adapt differently to certain weapons anyway. Some.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, which I've been having a great time with, played something very, very different. A game called I Saw Black Clouds. So it's an FMV, actually.
Okay.
So I still maintain the absolute peak FMV is Erica. Erica on PS4, which is just a brilliant game. It was a fantastic storytelling, great acting. The interface of it is beautiful, and it's probably the most game feeling FMV. Because the thing with FMVs, I mean, it's full motion video, right? So you're effectively playing or watching an interactive film, right? More often than not. But Erica was just, ever since I played Erica, it just kind of laid a new sort of bar for a new foundation for what these games could be, right? Like a lot of FMV games back in the day, when you think of games like uh what what's that classic one? I think we were talking about it not long ago, John. I remember it was on sale in the eShop, and I was like, have you played this? And
Night Trap?
it's like
You talking
Night
like,
Trap.
yeah, I was gonna say you talking about old school FMV?
Yeah,
Yeah, Night Trap. Yeah.
stuff like Night Trap, yeah, Night Trap, and things like that. Everything that came out around that time, and Phantasmagoria,
Yeah.
and things like that. Harvester, where a lot of them were kind of like point and clicks, right? So
Right.
but it just happened to be live action stuff. So, but a lot of FMBs as of late have been more really just kind of in clouds. I just kind of compare everything to Erica. So I wanted to say, I just wanted to shout out Erica really quick. And Erica won a bunch of awards and stuff like that. And I think it won stuff at the BAFTAs as well. And, it's such a brilliant game. And I think it was on when that game came out, whatever year it came out, I want to say 2019 maybe, or 2018. It was on my top 10 for that year. Like it was just absolutely great. um but yeah, anyways, so I Saw Black Clouds. I played it on the Switch, and uh it's in that weird sort of in between. It's mostly an interactive film, really, if anything, but it's in that sort of in between of like movie and game. And the story's really good. I think that I Saw Black Clouds would have been much better as just a singular film than something that they try to make a game out of. Now, it did have cool ideas where it had like a real-time sort of like statistics, right? Where you could kind of see your emotions. It had everything was kind of set out depending on like the decisions you would make, where you had honesty, integrity, strength, so on and so forth, acceptance, guilt, denial, stuff like that. And the reason why you had these things is because the story is basically you play this protagonist who, she reviewed her old hometown that she didn't want to go back to, but she had to because one of her friends committed suicide. And it's a very heavy topic, but it's one of those mystery thrillers where it's just like, well, she would never commit suicide. And I just talked to her the other day and she was super happy, which and then they start looking into it, doing all this detective work, and then things get, a lot of supernatural things happen, and it gets crazy. It gets wild. But overall, yeah, no, I mean, it was a solid experience, and but I had my issues with it. Like the choices went by way too fast, and they were always like super sporadic. So like you'd go 20-30 minutes without a choice, and then other times you'd go back to back every 2 minutes, and it's just like, and even like in scenes that you wouldn't expect, like you're just looking around. It's not like you're running away of just like, oh, do I turn left, do I turn right, stuff like that. I mean, there was those, but like maybe just one or two of those, so it was so the choices where you had to do rapid fire were like the more serene, it was just scenes where things weren't really happening, and then you had the choices which where things were going crazy, where everything was very much like, okay, well, just watch, we'll take it from here for some reason. But overall, not bad. Definitely some parts that were low budget, like some of the effects, but overall, like the acting was solid. It was a solid story, but I think it would have been much better as just a standalone film than a game. But it was really cool seeing those real-time stats and seeing afterwards when you beat the game, seeing like what endings you got, and then trying to go there endings, seeing what routes you could go through. There's over 500 scenes, and then there's 4 different endings and stuff like that.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a pretty meaty game, all things considered, and because I think my first playthrough was like maybe 2 to 3 hours, So and that was just for one end, and but granted, after you beat the game, that's when you unlock the skip feature. So after that, if you do want to go through everything, I mean, you could probably watch the whole movie in like 20 minutes, maybe. If you skip. just trying to select the choices that you didn't select before to watch those new scenes. But yeah, not bad all things considered. That was sent to me by Wales Interactive, so shout out to Wales Interactive for sending that to me. But yeah, overall not bad, not bad. But again, I still think Erica is still pinnacle, FMV. But for what it was worth, I Saw Black Clouds was a solid story and a solid experience. So and really enjoyable on the Switch too. It looks good in handheld and on TV. So it shot well, and yeah, I think that team that did that also made. I'm trying to remember the Bunker. So they also did the Bunker.
Oh, okay.
FMV that's on like apparently very well received. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, also in addition to that, speaking of more dark tone stuff, have been playing Lust from Beyond, which is a crazy upcoming sequel. Well, no, it's out now, but a crazy sequel to Lust for Darkness, I believe, which came out a couple years ago, maybe in 2018, something like that, 2019. But it's a very it's definitely like horror, but like when you look at it, it's very like erotic at the same time, right? Like a lot of the imagery, you see a lot of it has to do with just this dude named like Lustga or something like that, who's just like this super sexual demon or whatever. But the reason being though is because like in the first one anyways, your wife gets kidnapped and you have to go to this, you find yourself in this crazy mansion that has like these demonic cult of people that are convinced it's the end of the world tonight, so they're like, okay, well, we're the last human beings on Earth, so let's go have a crazy time tonight and repopulate the Earth basically, because we're all that's left. So yeah, it gets crazy. And that studio doesn't care for censorship, man. Like that studio is just like, look, you're gonna see what you're gonna see. We're gonna give it to you. So it's like they hold nothing. It's like that studio movie games, like they. But the thing about that game though is like it doesn't exploit it, right? Everything is done very tastefully, or as tastefully as it can be. I mean, obviously everything's very dark,
right? Yeah,
and very grotesque, with the matter at hand and how everything kind of plays out. But they don't. The game doesn't tout itself as just like, oh, we're an adult game, and it's not like they're trying to like make this tasteless experience of just like, hey, if you want to see body parts, we got it.
Yeah.
It's
right.
So, but do have a genuine game there that's, it's a great horror, like puzzle, sort of atmospheric experience from beginning to end, and it's like genuinely like chilling. And the second one, I haven't played too much of it, but it's starting out slow, but it is more. But the opening was wild. Like the opening was absolutely crazy. But now they kind of sectioned it out in chapters, and but yeah, no, it's just a follow up to that, and just been playing through that. So really, really enjoying it so far. A little slow going compared to the first one, but you can see how much they've improved since the first one, because it's just an indie studio, but they definitely are very, very ambitious and very creative. So you can just see how everything is just much more polished this time around. Now, there's definitely bugs. Like I experienced one where I had to, like, one of the characters was inviting, someone they were talking to over, and so he was getting, the place set up and whatnot, and he wanted, finally he wanted to just kind of sprinkle some, just some rose petals, just make it look romantic and stuff like that. And but the rose petals, for the life of me, would not place on the ground. Now it was weird because I was playing with the controller, right? And apparently, even if you're playing on keyboard and PC, even though the tab button is the open inventory button, apparently so is E. Doesn't tell you that, but apparently so is E. So I went to Steam discussions, and they were, and I saw a few, and they were like, "Yeah, I can't put these pedals down. Can someone help me?" It's like, yeah, if you're using a controller, you have no luck. If you're using a keyboard, you have some luck. It's not tab. Hit E. And then hit use, which is weird that you have to hit use, because usually if you interact with something right away and you have it in your inventory, you're good. It'll automatically trigger it, right? But for some reason, this specific thing, and I was taking laps around this place. I was like, what? And I crouched, and I was like this close to the icon, and I was like, come on, why aren't you, why aren't you working? For the life of me. So like, after like 20, 30 minutes, I was like, okay, I usually don't like looking stuff up, but swallow my pride, and I was like, this is ridiculous. So I looked it up, went to the Steam discussion board, and sure enough, a couple people had my problem. I looked it up, and it was like, yeah, just hit E and then hit use, and you can hit use. It's not grayed out anymore for some reason. And then it finally. So odd little bugs like that almost made me just kind of like rage quit too, just stupid things like that. But yeah, I guess I haven't played too much of it, but from what I've played so far, it's a solid sequel. But you can definitely see like how much they've learned and grown as a studio since the first one, though. But yeah, and then lastly, on a much lighter tone, have been playing Castaway Paradise on PC.
What are you talking about? That cartoony game is super dark.
Yeah. You have to wash your palate eventually of the dark.
And that's why I've been playing Castaway Paradise. It's so cute. Like, this game is adorable. Like, it's a nice little mix of like Animal Crossing meets sort of, I'm just trying to think. It's very Animal Crossing-esque, though. Like when you see it, and because you have these animal villagers that kind of live on this island, right? And you kind of wash ashore, and you just try to build a new home there, basically. And you run these quests, and it's super cute, and it's very relaxing too, because there's no like nonsense stamina, like there are in some sim games, and which is my most hated thing, and it's funny, and it's not overwhelming either. The island's like really kind of like well put together, and but the quests are weird, right? Where like you'll get on the island, and then they'll kind of give you like a tutorial quest where they'll give you some of the like an axe and water bucket and things like that, and then you do what you need to do, right? You chop, you get some wood and whatnot, but then like for some reason, later down the line, like the mayor of the town is just like, all right, well, I think I've taught you everything you need to know. All right, just go ahead and clean up the place and do what you need to do. And if you need help, we're here for you. Glad to have you aboard. And you say thank you and you're on your way. So immediately, like when you're playing Animal Crossing, like what's one of the first things you do? Like when you see all those weeds, you're like, oh my god, I gotta clean this place up. So you start cleaning up all the weeds like that. You start hitting all the rocks and whatnot, and just to kind of clean the place out so you can kind of get it situated into your liking and whatnot, get all the trash out of the way. Now, unbeknownst to me or anyone really, is that not a couple of quests in, maybe like 9 or 10 quests in, they're like, hey, we need you to collect 8 rocks. Now, let's rewind that and remember when the mayor was like, go ahead and clean up everything. Okay,
yeah,
now I cleaned up everything.
I got no rocks.
I got no rocks. Yeah, exactly. And like, so I can't, and it doesn't like automatically like hand you that quest for having already done it. You have to do an additional 8 rocks the moment you get that quest. So it's like, so then you're kind of stuck, and it's like, all right, well, let me find another quest to do because I can't do this one right now. I just can't, like it's can't proceed. So and then you just wait, and granted there are other parts of the island that you eventually connect to, that once you get the right materials you can build a bridge towards and whatnot. So they have rocks, and things kind of naturally go grow back over time, but it takes a while. It takes a long while, and so again, I'm still sitting on this quest where I can't do it. Things like that, pick up a weed and stuff like that, and just clean the place up, get like 3 pieces of trash, and it's like I can't. I did all that already. Remember that time you told me to do all that? Yeah, I did it. Like, look around, did I not do my part? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I wish they had done that in the beginning when they were doing this tutorial, and then instead of just waiting for later down the line where I've already cleaned it all up, it's ridiculous. But overall, though, it's like it's super cute, super intuitive, and yeah, I got it on sale. I saw it on Steam, and I got it for like next to nothing. So I was like, yeah, why not? I'll try it. And then gifted a copy to my girlfriend as well, because it does have online co-op. And the reason why it caught my attention is because it's coming out to Switch soon, actually, probably within the next couple of weeks. So, but I just went ahead and got it on PC because I was like, it's like $20 on Switch, and I got it literally for like maybe like $1 or $2 on PC, and I was like, yeah. So, but it's enjoyable. I already have a bunch of games like that on the Switch anyway, so I was like, yeah, let me get something like that on PC. Change it up. So, but yeah, it's a cute game, and I highly recommend checking it out. Especially if you're someone who doesn't own a Switch for whatever reason, but you like those types of games, and you kind of want Animal Crossing without having to actually get a Switch. I think go ahead and get Castaway Paradise. I think you'd be very happy with it. So, though it's not as in depth, if the menu interface kind of feels very much like a mobile game almost, honestly, just with the way they kind of set it all up. But overall, very solid, very cute game. I enjoyed it. It's very good.
Cool. Very cool. Well, we'll get into some news. Not a whole lot of news this week. It's so Xbox heavy. My gosh, March was so Xbox heavy with news, and they just keep on rolling. As we kind of alluded to earlier in the show, there was a certain game that I said I'd really like to try on Xbox, but I wasn't because it was $70. Well, that was MLB The Show 21, which was announced to come to Game Pass day one on launch, which set the internet on fire. And honestly, I enjoyed just sitting around watching it burn. It was so
you enjoyed watching the show before the show.
Yes, I did. I truly did. I always, it's
park. That was a home run.
Yeah. Keep the baseball going. How long can we keep this going? But yeah, it kind of, I was kind of surprised, shocked. Yeah, you're froze again. It's fine.
We can still hear you though.
Yeah, we can still hear you. You just look like you're picking your nose. No big deal.
Very good.
But anyway. So, this literally came from out of left field because no one, figured that we would ever see. First, you never thought you would see a PlayStation, made game on Xbox, much less come to Game Pass. Now, the one thing that everybody has to remember about this is Sony is not publishing this on Xbox. MLB is publishing this on Xbox. So Sony had nothing to do with the discussions on this game coming to Game Pass. This was specifically between Microsoft and Major League Baseball because Major League Baseball is publishing it on all the other places except for PlayStation. Sony is going. So still.
Just feel sorry for the studio that makes this game.
Yeah, I know, right?
Watching all this crazy hullabaloo and why our game being crazy? What's going on?
Yeah, I know, right? But I don't know. It's to me, there's just something funny that
I wonder. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine.
I said that louder than I thought I was. Thinking out loud.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Well, what I just think is funny though is Sony's president said that Game Pass was not a sustainable thing. Yet here is a PlayStation game on Game Pass. And yes, I know it's not published by PlayStation. It's just a PlayStation developed game. But still, there's some irony there.
I wonder if Sony gets any money out of that deal, though, regardless, because they made it.
Yeah, I don't know.
And also, I'm assuming there's microtransactions in there somehow.
There are.
So how does that work?
Yeah, I don't know that either. He plays MLB The Show. So as soon as I woke up at 9:00 Friday morning and the news had already broke, and I sent him a message. I go, look at this. And he's like, there's microtransactions in that game. Sony will get their money either way. I was like, I haven't played the show in years. I don't pay full price for sports games because I know in 3 to 6 months they go down to $20. I just don't buy them at full price. So the only time that I ever got the MLB games near launch was on PlayStation 3 when I worked at GameStop and Sony had their retailer store where you could do quizzes and get points and get games for free. That was the only time that I ever got them early. So I haven't played it since the PlayStation 3 days. Well, I'm interested. I like sports games. I like baseball, so I'm interested to play it, but I wasn't interested to drop $70 on it. I will download it day one on Game Pass and play it for a couple hours and go, yeah, it's a pretty good game. But the thing is it's a weird convoluted thing that I wish we had more information on because I don't know the conditions of the deal between Major League Baseball and PlayStation. Other than, Sony publishes it on their system and Major League Baseball publishes it on Xbox and PC, and if it comes to Switch, I don't know if it's
it makes you wonder because it's kind of similar to stuff like, well, even something recently with Project Octopath Traveler, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just Octopath. Never mind the project.
I knew
like,
what you meant. Yeah.
yeah. I was thinking of Triangle Strategy. So, but with like Octopath Traveler, right, where it's like you see this a lot with Square Enix and Nintendo, where like in Japan, if there's a Nintendo exclusive, it's usually published by Square Enix,
Right.
like Dragon Quest, like Bravely Default, like Octopath Traveler, and then everywhere else, in the West, outside of Japan, it's usually published by Nintendo. But now Octopath Traveler is, it was also on PC the same day it came out on Switch, but again published by Square Enix, even though it was in the West, and then now it's, as of not even a week ago, now it's on Xbox and Xbox
it's on Game Pass. Yeah, it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, being published again by Square Enix.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you wonder how these deals work, where it's just like, and then Dragon Quest, same thing with Dragon Quest, right? Where Dragon Quest was S anyways, was exclusive to, the Switch for a while, and now it's on PS4 again. Now it's on Xbox again, as well as Game Pass and PC via Steam. So, but all published by Square Enix again. It's like, how? I don't know. I get confused sometimes. That relationship between Nintendo and Square Enix, where it's just like, we have an exclusive, except not really, except they still have the rights to publish it elsewhere, but we're going to do it here. It's like, well, if Square Enix, and then if the Square Enix is just going to publish it everywhere to be, regardless,
right?
Then, I don't know. I'm lost. I'm at a loss.
Yeah. I don't know. This was just such a weird one, but oh my gosh, it broke Twitter. It just broke Twitter. And immediately I'm like, yep, I'm just going to enjoy the day, eating breakfast and reading Twitter comments because, oh yeah, it was crazy. And people trying to explain to people how this whole thing worked and that small community of Sony hardcores just not understanding it. It was hilarious. I loved it.
It'll be interesting to see, like, a year from now, what is MLB The Show 22? Is that still going to be kind of like a Sony published thing on PlayStation and everywhere else? MLB doing it like this? Is it just going to be MLB everywhere? Is it going to be on Game Pass again, or are they just using that now to kind of get people a taste and then you have to pay for it next year?
Yeah.
That'll be the kind of interesting thing to find out.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're a Game Pass Ultimate member and you like sports games, I mean, you can get that. You can get Madden 20. You can get, you can get hockey will be out sometime this month. The NHL 20, 21, I should say, and Madden 21. NBA 21, 2K 21 just came out on Game Pass last month. It's like, man, well, they got all the sports games covered for those guys that like sports games. So I don't know. It's crazy though. And then plus, and I didn't put it in the show notes, but after the Bethesda announcement and they put all those games, Bethesda games on Game Pass, and then they did the FPS boosts to so many of those games and other games as well. It's like, holy crap. Game Pass is just bam, 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 bam. And
well, then they have Outriders that just came out, and then right before release date, they announced this MLB The Show thing. So right before the show comes out, are they gonna have another big news drop, or they're just gonna keep like doling these out as we go? Like, hey, here's a new thing. Hey, this is also on Game Pass.
And this is what Phil Spencer has wanted with Game Pass. Yeah. This is what he wants. He wants big AAA dates, even if it's just 1 or 2 a month, just to keep it rolling. I mean, and. Once all these studios that they bought, get games rolling out, they don't have to worry about third party. Just bam, bam, bam. They'll have their own
they'll
stuff.
still though.
Oh,
they'll still put the third party on there too.
Absolutely. I think they absolutely will.
For I'm sure a good reason, and so
yeah. Oh, but watching PlayStation people go, so I could pay $10 a month on Xbox and play the show, or I had to pay $70 on play. Put it on PS Now, right now. It's like, yeah, that's not the way it works, buddy. But good luck to you. I mean,
honestly, like Jim Ryan is just not.
No.
He's not consumer friendly. I'm sorry, like he's just not.
And that will segue right into our next story about not being consumer friendly. The PlayStation Store has officially dates the shutdown on PS3, PS Vita, and PSP. Now, what this means is you will not be able to buy any new games, but you will still be able to download games that you have bought, at least for now. Yeah, pour one out for the Vita, because and I don't know if you guys saw the story that I retweeted on Twitter, but there are 2,000 games that are digital only that will just disappear when that store closes. There's no physical releases of it. You can't buy them anywhere else. They were only on it. They're just going to be gone if you don't buy, if you haven't bought them.
Right.
I understand Sony is not a multi-billion, trillion-dollar company like Microsoft who can afford to keep servers up. And I knew this day was going to come with Sony. I knew it was. Nintendo, the same thing. The 31st was when Mario 35th Anniversary All-Star, whatever the heck that thing was called, is gone.
They shut down the Wii store, like the original Wii, back in like late 2019, I think?
Yeah,
or was it I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, it was a year ago. But, I know Nintendo, at this point, we know Nintendo does that. But, this was a brand new game that came out, 3 months ago. They've taken it off the market. They've taken it off the store. It's gone. It's like Disney. It's like Disney and their vault they used to do with their DVDs. For a limited time only, we'll release The Lion King before it goes back into the vault, for all you people who remember what non-streaming was like.
Those little 3 letters, E, H, and S.
Yeah.
Those.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know. To me, it's just and to give you the dates. PlayStation 3 PSP is July 2nd. Vita is August 27th. So, if you've got time, get that stuff downloaded somewhere.
The thing that I'm going to be is like, how long till they completely just get rid of it where you can't download them anyway? Because if they're still there, they're still on a server somewhere if you can download it. They're just turning off the ability to buy. And why?
And that makes no sense to me whatsoever. I don't understand that. And fine. You don't want to run those things on the Vita, PS3. So, okay, well, give me an update on the PS5 that I could buy those games on my PS5, download them to my PS5, and then transfer them from my PS5 to my Vita or my PlayStation 3 or whatever. I mean, I don't think that's asking too much. I know you've been able to do that with PS3. You could do that, download Vita games, because the store closed down there for a little while on the PSP side, that you couldn't buy new things, so you had to download them, buy them, and download them. But that's PS1 games, that's PS2 games, that's PlayStation's heritage that they're shutting off to a lot of people, and it doesn't make sense. And then you got Microsoft, who puts out a tweet right after that's announcement, going, "We believe in the preservation of," and you could still play Xbox games, 360 games, and stuff like that.
I've heard rumblings of conspiracy theory of part of why they're doing this is so they can put them out on a Game Pass like service. So look at all these games here that you can play. And bringing them back.
I've heard that too.
I don't know. It's a dumb way to go around about doing it if that is the case.
Well, and the question
is... Which I kind of doubt that's the case, but even if it was, it's still you could have done it so much better way.
Well, and if it is, what are you going to be only play them on PS5? Am I going to be able to play them on my Vita? Am I going to be able to play them on PS3? I don't know. It's a weird thing, and I don't like it. Yes, I'm a staunch supporter of physical media, but when you have companies like Limited Run and Simply Rare, or whatever the other ones are called, that yes, they produced physical media of some of a lot of these games, but they limited them to so many copies. And now, if you want a copy of that physically that you didn't get when they first came out, you're paying huge, triple-digit prices for some of those things, and that's crazy. I don't know. I don't like it. I think it's very, with all the bad press that Sony has gotten here lately, and I say bad press, I use that very loosely because it's not like horrible press, but this is just another ding for Microsoft to go, hey, look over here at us. We're still doing this. You can still backwards compatibility, no problem. We're, it's just like they just keep giving them a gun and saying, here, shoot us in the foot. Here, shoot us in the foot.
Give them a month. Xbox will announce, hey, all PSP games are on Game Pass. We don't know how we did it either, but they're there.
It's a miracle.
Well, you know what's crazy too now is like not like no joke with the new like Edge, because I mean they've had Edge there for a while, the Microsoft Edge on Xbox now for a while, but they've currently updated it to it's technically a new Edge, but it's still called Edge. But anyways, it's like it's called Edge Plus or whatever. But now you can literally play Stadia games and stream your Steam games via the Edge browser.
Your Edge browser on your Series X, on your Xbox console, and it works pretty well from everything that I've seen. Videos of it I've seen. It works pretty good.
I played games on my Xbox before. I remember actually when we got what was it? When we got one of the Corpse Party games for review. I want to say Hachiko's Hysteria birthday. I was believe it or not, even though that was on Steam, I was playing that on my Xbox.
Yeah.
On my team.
Yeah. And
I have a photo.
And that's that. Sony wants to. They still want to be number one. They are living. They are starting to show their age. Doing this same thing over and over again.
They just have completely different strategies between the two.
Yeah,
I think if Layden was still there, you'd probably see a very different PS5 launch.
Yeah, I think so too.
Jim Ryan isn't. He's never been. He's even before he got into like that became president. Even before then, some of the stuff he was saying was just ridiculous. Because I think even before he was president, that's when he came up with the line like, "No one wants to play old games."
And that's what he said. He said nobody wants to play PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games. They want to play new AAA titles. And yes, there is an audience out there that wants to play new AAA titles, but there's also some of us that like to go back and play those older games.
I mean, when you get into like millions of people playing games, you have a bunch of different audiences, so it doesn't make any sense to like just shut a whole ton of them out. Like different people want different things, so cater to as much of them as you can.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of been the mentality of what Microsoft has done in the past 7 years. They've completely done a 180 from hey, here's the Xbox One. It's your one device to watch TV and play games and stuff like that. And it's like, nope, we don't want TV. All right, well, we'll fire that guy and we'll get a guy in here that knows what you want. I mean, that's what they did. They fired that guy, got a guy in there and look. I mean, look at the difference in the launch of the PlayStation 1 or the Xbox One and the Series X. I mean, it's just night and day. And that was, and I've said it on here a dozen times. And if anybody knows, that's why I didn't buy an Xbox One when it came out. It was $100 more expensive, and they were too concentrated on TV. And I didn't care about that.
Look at how well that Kinect worked out.
Yeah. But and then the same day that Sony announced that they were closing stores, Microsoft brings 16 backwards compatible games to xCloud gaming, like Fallout New Vegas, Gears or Fable 2, all those. So if you're an Xbox Ultimate member and you do the cloud gaming, now you can play 360 games on cloud gaming. There's more coming.
And some of them are touch control enabled, so you don't even actually use the controller.
Yeah, so like your Banjo, or not Banjo-Kazooie, what is it? Viva Pinata, I think, is one of the ones that are touch control. Jetpack.
Both of the Viva Pinata ones have touch controls, which would be a really cool way to play that game.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just like, like I said, Sony goes, hey, let me put my arms up in the air and let you punch me in the face once. Bam. Okay, here, let me do another thing so you can punch me in the face again. Bam. It's like, and Microsoft has just dominated the news with good stuff for consumers, and Sony's just kind of tripped over their own feet here lately. It's weird. I don't know.
And this is why I will always condone emulation and ROMs and stuff like that, because if you don't want to preserve it, like you can't be mad at people pirating something that they can no longer buy. I'm sorry, you can't, so you can defend it all you want with all the licensing fees and stuff like that, but understand, if there's a market for it, don't gate it off. I don't know.
And that's all this is going to do. I can only imagine how many people are going to crack their Vitas
that's been
September.
happening
Oh, that's been happening forever. But I mean, it's like me. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna crack my Vita because I don't want to do it. But once that store goes away, gloves are off. I don't care.
Absolutely.
What difference is it going to make at this point?
Yeah, because I mean, it's highly likely that it probably wouldn't get any more firmware updates anyway. So then the modding community would come in, and you'll have a universal, what's like a custom firmware CFW, and then you would put that in, and you're good to go, and you can have all the games you ever wanted.
Yeah.
Not only Vita games, but stuff from other stuff as well. There was a couple of years ago, there was a great, what was it called, like Haiku or something like that. It was a little program where you could literally sideload games from other systems. I remember I was playing. I can't do it anymore because I updated my Vita at the time because I didn't have 3 Vitas like I did now. But I legit, for a brief period of time, I was playing Pokemon Yellow on my Vita.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I when especially when Nintendo and like I said, I understand Nintendo and Sony does not have the money that Microsoft has to keep things like that and up, and that's what people fail to understand. That's like with Game Pass. I literally saw this guy. Well, Game Pass makes no money. Really, dude? Have you actually sat down and totaled up? I mean, literally, they make, if you go and you look at how much a AAA game release makes in the first month it's released, is usually just about what Game Pass makes on a monthly basis. So you get the equivalent. Microsoft is making the equivalent of a AAA game money every month.
Yeah. Microsoft is definitely making that. It's more like what the studios would be what deals Microsoft gives them that will make it worth for a studio to do that. And it seems like they've been making plenty of deals because it's not like it's stopping. We keep getting a big release after big release after big release. So I mean, they're certainly enticing studios to say, "Hey, come on Game Pass," and I don't see that stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, and there was an article that I had read a couple weeks ago, and I don't remember. I don't remember if I put it in our Twitch or our Twitter or if I tweeted it out. But anyway, there was 20% game sales will come up 20% because of with Game Pass subscribers. They'll buy 20% more games because they'll play it on Game Pass and then turn around and say, okay, I'll go ahead and buy that game. I've done that. Yeah, I've done that. All this game's getting ready to leave. I really want to, I enjoyed what little bit I played it. I'm going to go ahead and buy it. It's only X amount of dollars and now I've got it in my, whatever, It's just, I don't know.
I think it's the deals they're probably making are probably no different from, or maybe different, but at least at the very least similar in sort of, as a win-win situation between what Epic Games is doing with a lot of publishers and stuff like that, where you're seeing a lot of Epic Store exclusive games, stuff like Hitman 3, as of recently in terms of like big stuff, and whatnot, that, they're not only are they telling them, look, we're going to sell at least this many, but we're going to right out the gate, we're paying you this much to reimburse yourself with the sales already. So stuff like deals like
Yeah, and it's different deals for different games. That was one of the things they said. A lot of smaller companies will come to Microsoft and say, "We want to put your game on Game Pass. Can you help us with money for development?" And Game Pass, Microsoft goes, "We'll give you X amount of money to help you finish this game to have it on this amount of time on Game Pass." I mean, it's different strokes for different folks as far as deals go. But I mean, it's. Netflix had to do the same thing. I mean, when they started out, they were hemorrhaging money to get deals and then exclusive content. And, now it's like, what was it I just saw? They paid like $450 million for the exclusive rights to the sequel to Knives Out or whatever. It's like...
2 and 3.
yeah, they just drop money, and now it's just like, nope, no big deal. Just drop the money,
$450 millions. I mean, considering they're like a multi-billion-dollar, I mean, it's
They're going to have to work hard to make that actually make sense, because Knives Out is great. It's amazing. It's not set up for sequels, so I wonder what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, I was thinking...
Because you've already done kind of like the twist, I guess is the best way to put it, but you've done like the stuff with Knives Out. What are you going to do in a sequel that's going to kind of like not be the same thing over again and be interesting. And people actually want to see it. It's not going to be the same kind of phenomenon Knives Out was.
Right, yeah.
Unless you just work really, really hard, let alone a third one too. Like, it's kind of crazy. But I hope they're good because Knives Out's awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I hope it's not like a direct sequel. I hope it's just like, here's a thing that we're doing another kind of, whodunit style movie with a different twist or whatever it may be. And it's more of an anthology than it is like an actual like sequel kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I think that might be more interesting than just like, oh, hey, here's all these characters. We really wrapped this story up really well. But we're kind of forcing it into do another movie. Just doesn't seem right for that franchise, I guess, now.
Yeah.
Seems weird.
Yeah, we'll see. Who knows? But yeah, it's an interesting time to be into video games because it's like, do I buy this game? Is it going to come out on Game Pass in a couple of weeks? Is it going? Now it's like, no.
I mean, there's just so many games out there too, so you're like spoiled for choice.
Yeah. Never have we been so spoiled as we are right now.
Except for maybe last year or the year before.
All right. Well, is there anything else? I know, Dennis, you're still out of town, so I guess you got no live streams or anything coming up that you wanted to.
Yeah, no, nothing really big. Though there might be a small one soon. There's an awesome indie game that came out recently that goes by the name of. Let me make sure I get it correct here. I know it's something to do with some sort of death.
That's some sort of death. I don't remember exactly.
Here we go. Dying Flame. That's what it's called. Dying Flame. So, yeah, that actually comes out in early April 2021. So sometime this month it'll be coming out. And the devs reached out to me. So it's just one of those cool little horror. It's a narrative-driven horror game, but it's like an RPG Maker game, so it's got that awesome sort of like retro aesthetic to it. So yeah, we're kind of getting that set up and that worked out, and then eventually that'll be on the stream at some point.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm still working, so I've got nothing but work. So nothing but work till Memorial Day. So that's when we're supposed to be done, is Memorial Day. So then
you're inching closer to that, though.
Yeah. So then everything will get back to normal around here. So we'll see. Whatever normal is, I don't know. All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for hanging out and listening to us. Like I say, if you want to catch us live, just follow us on Twitter at GL_podcast. I try to tweet out a couple hours before we go live if you want to come hang out with us. And like I always say, if not, you'll get it on the podcatcher of your choice that you listen to whenever I decide to post it the next day. So, all right. Well, thanks a lot again for hanging out with us, and we will catch you guys next time.
Take care.